it's Darnell with NuWave Oven Recipes, and today I want to talk to you about which cooker is best for which food you're trying to cook or which job you're trying to get done in the kitchen as far as cooking. Basically, there are a lot of cookers out there. I cover a lot of different cookers, but no one cooker is perfect at everything. Each cooker has its own specialty. Certain things are done best in certain cookers, and so I want to just go over with you what works best with which cookers. Alright, so we'll start this talking about the Instant Pot. The Instant Pot, it can do a lot of things. It, basically uses pressure to heat up and cook foods at a high degree of pressure. So it can do things like cook a whole chicken pretty quick. After it gets pressurized and all, it cooks it pretty fast. And it cooks a lot of foods just using that pressure and steam. The key here is that it uses pressure and steam. So anything it's going to cook is going to come out pretty wet. Anything that you need to cook that you want to keep dry, you probably don't want to cook in here. If you want to cook something in here and you want it to have a crisp exterior, you're going to have to go from the Instant Pot after you cook it over into like an air fryer or a oven or something to broil it and to kind of get it some crispiness, because everything that comes out of here is pretty soggy and wet. So, it can cook a lot of things pretty good, but the key here is that it all is going to come out with some sogginess to it. You can use what's known as a pot and pot method, where you use, let me show you. Alright, this is a pot and pot. Basically, you can do things where you put foods inside of these pots and you close them up. After you put them in the pot and close them up, you can stick this in your Instant Pot and then kind of steam them being in these smaller pots. That's a way to cook things in the Instant Pot and not get them soggy. But you can see your space is limited with these things. Sorry about that noise, but they're kind of limited in size, and that's another thing about the Instant Pot. They do make a 6 and an 8 quart, but you can only fill them up so much. You can't use the whole 6 quarts in this 6 quart Instant Pot Ultra. You can't use the full 8 and the 8 quart. So you have some limitations with size in the Instant Pots, but they can cook, you can cook most anything in an Instant Pot. It's just, do you want to cook something that is not going to be very large and might be soggy depending on how you cook it, because there are some limitations there. Of course, you're not going to be able to do something like toast very well. I mean, you may be able to, put things on simmer and put your toast in the bottom of the Instant Pot while it's on a simmer or something, and try and, maybe make up some toast simmered that way. I guess you probably could do that, but still, all the same, your space is limited. You'd be having to swap out pieces. Just like when it comes to like braising meat before putting it in the Instant Pot. I've seen a lot of people braise their meat and they put one piece in, take another piece out, and have to swap pieces just to get a browning on the meat in the Instant Pot. But it's it's probably not the most efficient way to brown meat if you're just targeting browning meat. So that's my thoughts on the Instant Pot there. I'll go on to another cooker for you. Alright, since I was just talking about browning meat in like the Instant Pot, I wanted to go over, talk about Skillet real quick. Then I'll go into some of the others. But I'm sure some of you are probably, not even interested in this. But I gotta tell you, Skillet is an unappreciated tool in most kitchens today. If you want to brown a lot of meat, a skillet like this with the high edges, perfect way to do it. I mean, you can get all your meat in there at once. I've done like a whole full-size salmon in here in just a matter of minutes. It can, heat it real fast and good. You can basically get, most anything that you want to just kind of, do like a griddle cook on. Like I said, I did salmon. You want to do your French toast, your fried eggs. You could fry bacon and sausage in here, but that's going to cause it to basically sizzle in its own grease. These days most of us want to use something where the grease drips off. You're going to be cooking in your grease here, and so not the most healthful way to cook your bacon and your sausage. But you're doing a bunch of pancakes. If you're doing, you could do like different types of casseroles and things in here. There's a lot you can do on a skillet, and like I said, they really are going unappreciated today, but something that is good to have in your arsenal of cooking tools. Alright, so this is my Power Air Fryer Oven Elite. This is just basically representing air fryers in this discussion. And air fryers are a great tool to have. I've seen some reports where people try and downplay air fryers and say, well, you can do it all in your oven and so on. Well, let me tell you, it's better to have an air fryer because your oven's going to heat your whole house and waste a whole lot of energy. Air fryers are going to get the job done in a very efficient manner. Energy efficient, they're not going to kick out as much excess heat, heating up the entire house like a conventional oven will. And so they do a great job. They don't need a lot of oil to do it. I will say with air fryers, you do need to put a little oil on the exterior of whatever you're air frying to get a real nice crispiness to it. And so the air fryers, they're good. They can cook smaller batches of food. In some cases, like this one can cook a good bit because it's got like levels. But those air fryers that just have kind of like the pull out type of drawer, they're kind of limited at times at how much they can cook. And so it's, in my opinion, better to have a air fryer that kind of has something like an oven style that can cook a lot more. But they can cook up, anything that you want cooked crispy. Their downfall, the Achilles heel with these air fryers is if you're trying to do something that might be baked. Although you can do things that are baked in them, they tend to overcook a little bit. It's harder to gauge getting the cook right with an air fryer when you're doing something that really requires a baking touch more than a frying touch. They're more for frying. They're heavy-handed heavy heat cookers for the most part. You can bring them down in temperature, you can adjust temperature, but still all the same, they come with more of a heavy hand of heat. They are not, in my opinion, the great bakers when it comes to cooking tools and small appliance cookers. So I like the air fryers. Definitely recommend anybody that doesn't have an air fryer, get yourself an air fryer if you can. Try and get one that has more of this oven type design than that single pull-out drawer type of design, in my opinion. But that's basically it for air fryers. One thing to keep in mind about a cooker like this with these like air fryers, most of them cook only from the top down or only have heat from one direction. They all claim to circulate the air in beautiful kinds of ways, but if your cooker only has a heat source coming from one direction, it's only going to heat that side the most. And the other side, you're going to have to do flipping and other techniques to get done as much as the side where the heat source is coming from. And that's, anybody that's been using these a long time will tell you that. If your heat source is on one side, you're going to get more cook on that side, and that's just a fact. So that's something to keep in mind with these types of cookers. Although they can cook both sides of foods effectively, your side with the heat source is the side that's going to be giving more of the heat because that's where the heat's coming from. Alright, so this is a convection toaster oven, and basically this is an air fryer style convection toaster oven. Basically a convection toaster oven can also do air frying, and this is really, in my opinion, the great baker of the small appliance cookers or the small cookers. And so this does a great job baking. It can go pound for pound, blow for blow with any standard oven when it comes to baking. I've even cooked 2-layer cakes in here. I mean, it can do it. And so anything that your oven can do, it can do, as well as doing some small scale air frying. And I say small scale air frying because the tools given to do air frying, it's not as much. It doesn't hold as much as something like the Power Air Fryer Oven Elite or your more traditional air fryers. And it's really, it is a jack of all trades type of tool, but best at baking. So it can do your baking, your broiling, and it can do, your smaller air frying if you have a little air frying to do. It can also, cook foods from frozen. It can do that. So, there's tons of videos on the channel about it, but it can do all different types of cooks. And it's best at its baking is probably its best forte. If you're not doing a lot of air frying all the time, that you're doing other types of heat ups and cooks, this is a good option, a very good option. And this model here is the NuWave Breville XL Smart Oven, but there are others like the Breville Smart Oven Air and other types of models. They, like Cuisinart and others make them, but they're all pretty much functionally similar. And these are kind of like the next level from the old school toaster ovens. These convection toaster ovens, they have heating elements on the top and bottom, and these that air fry also have an air fryer fan on the side, so basically they're able to actually effectively cook top and bottom of foods at the same time effectively, because when they're cooking from a heat source on the top and the bottom at the same time. That always gives you an even cook on both sides, better than some other cookers that don't have that type of setup. And their air fry fan on the side helps to circulate air around. So that's something to keep in mind with these types of cookers, that they can give you more of an even both sides cook without as much flipping than cookers that only have a heat source on one side. Alright, now this is the NuWave oven. It kind of gets its own special place in this discussion, because while all the cookers that I've shown can cook a chicken of a certain size, only this can do like a full 12, 14 pound turkey. The NuWave oven, because of its large dome, and it also has an extender ring attachment that can make it set even up higher than this for a cook, it can cook like 10, 12, 14 pound turkey. And you can't do that in a lot of the other cookers that I've described. I know that the Breville Smart Oven Air, is able to cook a certain size turkey, but this NuWave oven is probably able to cook, as far as a large single piece of meat, probably able to do the best, in my opinion, when it comes to that sort of thing. The NuWave oven is a convection oven with this dome type design. It only has a heating source on the top, so it heats from the top down. But for things like your turkey, if you want to cook a turkey and you don't want to heat your whole kitchen while cooking a turkey, or heat your whole house while cooking a turkey, the NuWave oven is a good option. It can cook foods from frozen as well. It can do some level of air frying as well. So it's a pretty good option as far as a multifaceted cooker, but it only has the heat source on the top coming down, and so it's a nice one to consider. This is the Range-Made Pro. It's a microwave cooker. Basically, it's used in conjunction with your microwave, and it helps accelerate the heating process of the microwave, because it has these it has this material inside, I guess engineered interior, that basically, as it gets heated in the microwave, it gets really hot. I mean, it gets hundreds, like over 500 degrees hot pretty quick, and so it can cook foods that are in it pretty fast. It basically, a lot of things that it cooks, it'll basically cook them with this dome on or this lid on, and so it makes a lot of steam in there. So most of the things that it cooks will have a sogginess to them or wetness to them. It can do certain things that if you don't have food that's in there that's too soggy, it can come out kind of a little crisp if you do things the right way. But it cooks pretty quick. It does, once it's hot, it gets really hot, and then you have to do things to cool it down if you want to reuse it and such. It's pretty small, and so it has some of those factors to consider when you're using it. Now, this is a bread machine. Now, why am I showing you a bread machine in this? Because bread machines can actually do a good number of things. Bread machines, not only can they cook up some good bread for you, and I mean some great bread, you can also make cakes with bread machines. Bread machines can make loaf cakes. So, if you want like a pound cake or other type of loaf cake, you can do it. If you want to make some dough for making some types of like rolls and things, you can make French bread. You can even make jam in a bread machine. So they're able to do a good number of different things. If you want like cinnamon raisin bread or other types of breads and things, you can, or loaf type cakes, you can do them in a bread machine, and it does a pretty good job with those things. Alright, so the bread machine is the last cooker that I wanted to show you, but let's do a little bit of a review. If you're cooking something like a whole chicken, basically depending on the size, you can use most of the cookers that I mentioned, not the bread machine, but you can use most of them, not the Range-Made Pro, too small. But you could use something like if it's a really small chicken, you could use the air fryer, like the Power Air Fryer Oven Elite, even rotisserie the chicken, if it's like under 4 pounds or 4 pounds or so. If you're doing like larger size chicken, you could do it in like the NuWave oven or the NuWave Breville. That's like a convection toaster oven, like the Breville Smart Oven Air. You can do it in any convection toaster oven. You could do something that is like a 4-pound chicken in like an Instant Pot. If you're doing a frozen chicken, you know, you might get it fastest out of the Instant Pot. So that's something to consider there. If you're doing something like fish from frozen, like, you know, fish fillets from frozen, you know, you probably want to use something like either the convection toaster oven or the air fryer or NuWave oven. Those are probably going to do best for, you know, just knocking out your fish fillets. I think, you know, if you put some fish fillets in like your Instant Pot, you'd have to be careful there. You know, you don't want to overcook it. If you're doing something like a steak, you know, you could do a steak in a fresh steak. You could do it in your Range-Made Pro. You could do it in your convection toaster oven. You can do it in your air fryer. You can do it in your NuWave oven. Pretty much all of them can do something like a steak, not your bread machine, of course. Well, if you're heating up like rolls and biscuits, I personally like the convection toaster oven the best. Basically for everything baked, pies, cakes, rolls, you know, that you're just heating up to bake. You know, the convection toaster oven is probably, in my opinion, best way to go. Going to give you a very nice even cook. When it comes to pizzas, I would say you can definitely use the convection toaster oven. Convection toaster oven is going to probably be able to hold, you know, different sizes of pizzas. Convection toaster ovens, some of them can hold over 12 inches in size in pizza and do both sides nice and even good. So if you're doing a pizza, convection toaster oven is a good option. If you want to make a cheesecake, you know, everybody that knows about the Instant Pot knows if you want to make a cheesecake, the Instant Pot is the answer there. If you're wanting to do air frying of a, let's say chicken wings and a good number of chicken wings, or you want to do your own homemade chicken strips that you're going to air fry and such, you know, air fryers are, you know, are good at what their name implies. They're good at doing air frying. So something like the Power Air Fryer Oven Elite can take care of a lot of your larger batch air frying because of its racks or its tray level type of design. If you're cooking bacon, you know, trying to do your bacon for breakfast, if you're cooking a lot of strips of bacon, you know, something like the Power Air Fryer Oven Elite is going to be able to hold, you know, your whole 12-pack of bacon and cook it up for you. If you're cooking like maybe about 6 strips, you can use certain convection toaster ovens. I would say something more like the Power Air Fryer Oven 360 or the Breville Smart Oven Air can do good with bacon. The NuWave Breville XL Smart Oven, it can do bacon, but you got to cook it real low temp with that one. The NuWave oven can also do bacon. It, you know, if you want to deal with how you have to set it up to do a certain number of strips, you can do that, but I would say that, you know, probably you're going to have an easier cleanup with like the Convection Smart Oven or the Power Air Fryer Oven Elite. It's going to be a lot easier, in my opinion, to clean up all the mess made from cooking bacon. If you're cooking things like a full salmon fillet, or you're cooking something like a whole bunch of pancakes, and you're trying to cook up, let's say, some type of casserole type dish or something, maybe you want to just cook up some type of dish that would need like a large type of griddle type design, then of course your electric skillet with the high sides like the NuWave Medley is a good answer. So that's what I have for you today, and you can find plenty of recipes for various types of cookers at superwaveovenrecipes.com. You can always reach this YouTube channel directly using the web address waveovenrecipes.com, also on Twitter and Instagram at waveovenrecipes. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Share the video with a friend who may be looking into this sort of thing. Subscribe to the channel, leave your comments, and good eating.